friends, to Occultists Anonymous. Don't worry, Chris, we will cut that out because YouTube would not be okay with that.
Right in the first second of it, yeah.
Welcome to our Mage, the Awakening Chronicle Into the West with a little one shot as we catch up on where Isabel and Catherine were while the rest of the gang were off doing stuff that Chris actually doesn't entirely know about because Chris was a bad player and didn't watch the most recent episode.
True.
Anyways, but it works out better because now next episode we'll actually have a big dramatic reveal and stuff like that. But
I've got to save for my train tomorrow.
Oh, very true. Yeah, shout out to our patrons: Adele, Alice, Aiden, Al, Alexander, Alsrit, Bernie, Buck, Chris, DNA, Hi, I'm Paul, Doc, Emil, Ethan, Jeff, George, James, Camo, Cat Feathers, Klaus, Leroy Jenkins, Michael, Milo V3, Moku, Mozart D Minor, Nexus, Nick, Other Guy, Perry, Fu, Polka Dot Hubris, Porter, Puppeteer, Riafio, Sean, Shaksara, Starfish, Terran, Terry D, Thomas, Verhex, Vincent, and Vortex. Thank you all so much for your support. It does mean a whole lot to us. Glad to have you with us. When we last left Isabel, she had watched the gang go off to meet up with the Liberators. There was a meeting suggested, location and place, and rather than leave the town undefended, some of them left. And of course, because of the nature of Legba's attainment, he's kind of here in purgatory, so it's very, very easy to actually get a message to everybody in the astral, though sometimes it's grabbing Legba by the shoulders and shaking and yelling until he suddenly realizes, oh, that's my other phone, and pays attention there. But in the meantime, Catherine, who probably doesn't need to go on an astral journey to meet what could be a trap, will stay around here. So Isabel and Catherine are in Purgatory Bluff as normal people, but instead of Catherine staying around home, where Theo is technically asleep. Well, actually, they're probably in the caves now that I think about it, in the mines. Yeah, we're doing more mage administrative stuff. And I think we pick up with Isabel in, did we call it the sheriff's office? Is that what we were describing the location? It's not really a lockup. Yeah. I guess it probably has like a cell or two.
Got like a cell, yeah. Which is, if anything, is just like a drunk tank kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like
that's really the most problem that generally happens.
Yep, and I imagine it's literally adjacent to Madame Robert's.
Yeah.
In tavern. She probably changes,
like, not far from Isabel and Jules's house and stuff like that.
Yeah, everything's within reach. And we have basically, trying to make sure, because I've got all these different names. Yes, Anastasio. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen him in a while. Being a chatty gossip. And in this case, because he is bringing it to Sheriff Isabel, mm-hmm. It's actual criminal, right? Okay. And he is, well, yeah, we'll drop it. Yeah. So you understand my problem. If one nephew is stealing from another nephew, I can't get involved, and I can't really bring it up with either of their fathers because then I'm in the middle. So if you may happen to...
some sort of partial mediator of the law.
And just stumble across misplaced items, and then justice can prevail as it should without Uncle Anastasio somehow being in the middle of it.
Well, I'm glad a concerned citizen brought this to my attention to look into.
And like he stops and like there. Well, actually no, because you two are probably having this entirely in Spanish. And so he's like, ah, yes, exactly, good, thank you. And then he is out that door. He's like, nope, 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 nope. Nobody's gonna pin this on me. Stitches get stitches. But he's like, no, like this is my family messing with my family. Something has to happen. Uh, to which Catherine is sitting over there, and she's just like, I imagine it's like, I don't think we're, well, I guess we're kind of in the Victorian era. It's the proper ladyship of, she's got a little journal, she's making notes, and as Anastasio leaves, she sets her pen down and looks over and goes, wait, this is really what you do all day?
Yeah.
But you could fly.
I can't.
Okay.
Sheriff Isabel can't fly.
Okay. Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. So how do you,
Because if Sheriff Isabel starts flying, then
the army's probably going to come ask questions.
well, I mean, I was thinking in a more subtle way, like, I guess maybe Theo hasn't talked about this yet. Have you seen, if you look at something you have cast your magic on, or someone?
Oh, yes.
There's a residue that you leave behind.
Mm-hmm.
The stronger in your gifts you become, the stronger that residue is when you actively do magic upon the world. But there's also a bit of a leak.
She's nodding her head. She's not quite getting it.
Having a shadow name helps us to control the avenues of what we call sympathy, the connections that Legbo would certainly be willing to tell you about at length. And just kind of smiles. Through which our nimbus can leak out into the world and affect things. And before I was Petrichor, most of my nimbus was just storytelling and little notes of flute music and stuff like this. And I don't know that would have but so weird of an effect upon the world. But now that I am the Tempest, there is already enough of my essence that lays about the town because of my stewardship of the weather and the crops and everything.
She nods and she's like, so you caused the rain indirectly, and Legba contributes to the well-being of the town and the connection and how everybody seems to understand each other well enough, even though we all don't speak the same language. And like she starts to put together, it's like, these are things that are supernatural in origin, but everybody just kind of goes, that's fine.
They're not inexplicable so long as we can control it.
And so Sheriff Isabel has to
follow
behave.
The rules.
Yeah. Okay. Because, I mean, both of us could easily snap our fingers and just stumble upon any of these things.
Yep.
But if I start doing that, then I become, and my magic becomes tied to and connected to all these people who aren't really asking for that.
Prepared for it.
I thought I was prepared, and
Yeah.
okay. And so you guys can go ahead.
I mean, and that's part of, you're rapidly catching on to some of the aspects of what it means to be wise.
She nods her head.
One of the ways to really try and temper ourselves and control how we think, and you'll find Legba especially feels this way as well, is by making sure that we don't use our magic to accomplish things that we already could.
Cheating.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you guys have, a little bit more of a conversation and go into some of this stuff that, I don't know how many episodes we're into now. You as folks at home, you should probably understand this. If you haven't, please go back to episode 1 and start again.
You find us learning it.
Yes. Oh yeah, back on the rookery. Good Lord. Yeah, episode 50, learning how scouring works. That came up in Discord just recently, and I was like, yep, okay. Thank you.
In my head, it was just equivalent exchange. I was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. It's alchemy.
Yep. Whoops. So you guys have a little bit of conversation. Your deputies come by and check in. For the most part, I imagine a lot of Isabel's time, especially like right now where it's like noon and it is hot out. It's like, no, I'm staying in here. We're not going out. Nobody else is going out. I am pretty sure the town quickly accepted the idea of the siesta and was like, "Nah, we're good."
It was a hard sell to get German people to take a nap, but we got there.
It's like, sure, you know what? Don't take a nap. Head outside. Go work. We'll be over here, because even in the mines, it's shaded. No, there's no circulation. That's it. It's cool air down there, but once you start moving,
it's humid.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so yeah, the deputies swing by and check in, and then you get a knock on the door. From let's see here. I don't think I actually have a name for this guy. 1 second here. It's been a long time since we've had the Enrights come around. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't actually have a name. So the butler. Now, bear in mind, Warner Enright never had a butler. He had I don't even think we're at Batman yet, but he had an assistant. He had a right-hand man. Ike has a butler, and this man comes down in this straight up black and white suit and knocks at the door. And you can see him through,
2 p.m.
Yeah. Knocks on your door and waits. Catherine looks at you, looks over at the door. Should I let him in?
I got it. She'll clank across the
some extra stumpy. Yeah.
Yeah, spurs wheeling on the back of her boot.
Yep. Full oh my gosh,
spaghetti western sounds going on in the background.
The butler's, he's fortunately not like some old guy, but he's definitely from England, just like Warner was, and is doing his best to keep a what's the phrase, stiff upper lip and stuff like, and he is just sweating and says, Master Enright would like to speak with Sheriff Isabel at your earliest convenience sometime this afternoon.
Right. You doing all right there, partner?
I'm absolutely fine.
Would you care for a glass of tea?
No, thank you. Because of course it would only be hot tea.
Huh?
We ain't we ain't antebellum South with the iced tea here. It's all gonna be hot tea.
I don't know, man.
I mean, I have no problem. But between all y'all, you have the means to make ice actually reasonable down here. That is on
right,
you.
Though. You're right, though. All right. Well, does Mr. Enright have more of a context to your summons? Invitation, perhaps, better phrasing.
I think he just he's like, oh yeah, it is of a sensitive nature.
I'm sure.
Yes.
All right.
Do you give him a long pause, or
it's visible, like considering like. All right, let me go fuck up my day.
Yep.
All right, lead the way before you melt out here on my porch.
Gladly. Turns and starts heading up. You see one of your deputies with just shit-eating grin waving behind you. And Catherine
she just like gestures to her gun.
It's just kind of hands back in his lap. He's just okay. Catherine like looks back and forth and is like, because I mean, Theo and Warner had a pretty good relationship. Mm-hmm. And the relationship between Theo and Ike is not super great. And Catherine has just been on the outside of it. I imagine Catherine doesn't have a great opinion of the Enrights either. But okay.
Ms. Stokes, would you care to follow along so we can conclude our business after this meeting?
Big thumbs up. Thank you, Chris. Catherine kind of closes the book, adjusts her dress, and then follows after. Well, I guess we shouldn't have Mr. Enright waiting. And the two of you walk along behind the butler, who is, unspeaking.
Isabel goes to grab her horse and then realizes this man walked down here in the sun in a damn near tuxedo.
Yep. And he's got dirt and dust all around his trousers and his shoes.
And she just kind of I think she just blows a little bit of wind and just gets a light breeze going.
The expression, podcast folks, you got to watch these on video. The expression Chris gave, just full on Popeye smoking out the side. And just there's just a little bit of breeze kicks up. There's that cloud that just crosses over in front of the sun. It's just this little bit of relaxation. And the other thing to bear in mind, of course, here is for y'all, dude, Ike has guys cowboy-esque guys who have.
It's intriguing as hell that he is not sitting one of the people that normally would do something like this for him, instead of close member of the household.
Right, and this is this is more of a, what would you say, a business kind of official business instead of just sending some guy down to say something. So yeah, the two of you make three of you make the 20-minute walk. Maybe a little bit more up the hill. After
the very well-timed breeze and cloud cover shows up, she just looks back at Catherine and just was like,
But Catherine is nodding because Mage Side is good at tingle and stuff, and then looking, but as she's walking, there's this it's pleasant, and then she starts to look at the guy who he made the walk down and he's struggling to get up that hill.
The hill, yeah.
Right. And she nods, and then like there's this big smile where she realizes, oh, this wasn't just like it's for us or for Catherine. It's like, no, this poor guy. It's like, oh, okay. And she like so she's walking along with, and like is nodding, and you could see her like, can I pull something sneaky off?
Yeah.
You know? But new mage and limited arcana, so she just ends up making way with y'all up to the porch, where the butler leads you right on in.
Does this guy have a name, by the way?
Yeah, sure. That's a good idea. Let's go
So
ahead.
sort of last name only butler name.
Yeah, that's true. He probably is just like straight up Mr. Whoop. Let's get some Victorian names. There we go. Oh yes. He is Mr. Hogan. So Mr. Hogan, thank you. Leads right into that, front drawing room and motions for y'all to sit. Master Enright will be with you momentarily. Would the ladies care for tea or biscuits?
Sure.
And Catherine, nods, and off he goes. And like, because it at least has, it's shaded in here. Windows are open.
Yeah.
And that breeze now is real good.
This feels great. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he goes, unfortunately he is the butler. There's some cooks and stuff like that who can take care of that. And he makes his way up towards the upper level. So, it's 5 minutes pass. Tea comes out, biscuits come out. You guys have some nice idle chit chat. 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Catherine is now looking and like very quietly in like mumbled, broken high speech is like, so we're going to curse him when we leave, right?
Could.
Probably won't. But yeah, it is a definite toxic masculinity power move of like making you sit and wait, and then it's a solid 30 minutes later he ends up coming down, like 30 minutes total, I should say, and he's not very well put together. It's the vest is undone. He looks, he doesn't look slovenly. It's more like he's just relaxed.
Sure.
Right. He's not, again, this is more of his attempt at being like, oh yes, this isn't worth me brushing my hair. Right. It's just, this is a super casual meeting that you all have been sitting 30 minutes for. Right. And he comes in and says, good. Sheriff Isabel, I want to know what you're doing about my missing cattle. No pleasantries.
Beg your pardon, Mr. Enright. Might I perchance entreat you to a vague formality or two after having us called up out of our day and then having us sit here and wait for you to show up in a state of near disrobery.
Disrobery. I don't know if it's a word, but we're counting it.
It's a word that Isabel thinks is a word in English and goes to
that's
it,
even
right?
Better. Yeah. And I think Catherine like picks up the tone and she of course wasn't the one summoned, and turns and says,
Right.
yes, it was. And like she hits with like full proper, like she doesn't, she's not English, but the proper, tone and stuff. It was very rude of you. This is, we expect more from somebody, of your station, Mr. Enright. This is.
And in front of a unmarried woman.
Also true. Yeah. And so, Catherine like, being there.
Right. Yeah. Like, she's like, I'm not saying that, but.
Yeah. And that is, I think, actually the thing that might actually throw Enright for a pause, because he was expecting you or, you and your deputy or something like that. And like, oh, here's Catherine, who he vaguely knows, it's an associate of an associate and stuff. And like, yes. And like starts like, there's a side turn and starts doing up his buttons a little bit. Yes, Miss Moody, how are you this afternoon? And Sheriff Isabel, sorry, I was brusque. I'm just very concerned.
Yeah, I'm sure you've got a lot on your mind. About these cattle, was it?
Yes, they've been missing for days now.
And your boys can't track down a few missing head of cattle?
My men, they don't rustle cattle because that's theft. But they herd cattle.
Wrangle?
Also good. And protect the herd, but this was obvious theft.
Based on what evidence?
They were here in the pasture, and then they weren't the next day. Somebody came and stole, 5 head of cattle out of my yard.
And just because we've misplaced something does not mean it's immediately been stolen. I have to tell this to my daughters constantly.
And like the flush to his face.
She cracks a smile and like is like, I'm fucking with you. But I mean it, but I'm also not giving enough to offend you, right?
Right, yeah. It's like this is playful banter. Yeah. Wink. It's like, wait.
I don't hate you.
Wink, yeah. And so he's like, well, if they were misplaced, sure, they would have wandered into town or out in the air. They're gone.
Okay.
And the way he says that though is like wait, hang on, really? Like we have combed the area, every place, and
cattle don't just disappear.
They don't, and they're real hard to hide if you don't have a place to put them.
Right.
There's no cattle suddenly out in the farms. There's no new cattle in town.
Okay, so you already looked into this?
Like, he gets, puffed up a little bit. He's like, ma'am, I have men for this.
Apparently not.
We have done our due diligence. And you can see, like, it is grating to him, but he is legitimately asking for help.
All right.
How he's going about it is wrong. But he is struggling to, like, he's trying to save face. He's trying to do it properly. That's why he sent a butler, right? But he doesn't have, like, he didn't grow up.
Doesn't have the instincts.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
All right, Mr. Enright, I'm happy to look into this for you. We'll, I guess, go take a look at the field and see if there's any hints of what might have been going on.
He nods, and
when was this?
And like he turns to what's his name? I already forgot. Mr. Hogan. And Mr. Hogan immediately provides the specific date, 6 days ago.
6 days. Oh
yes.
Boy.
Yeah.
That makes it hard to track there, like.
Yeah. He's like, well, I have done my best. I came to you because I know you have a good relationship with the Native Americans. He doesn't say Native Americans.
Right. Right. Sure. Yeah, we've made inroads with them to make sure everybody's getting along since, your house is on their land.
Your house is too.
Well, sure. But like I said, I'm the one that's been talking to them.
I love that. I love that. And he like rustles up again, and it's like, yeah, you can't double back you too if you're not. Yeah. So he looks over to Mr. Hogan and says, the brand, please. And he hands over a piece of paper that looks like it was well, wasn't actually branded, because I think that might actually burn up the paper, but the outline of the brand drawn onto it. Yeah. And hands this over. All my cattle are branded. That's the mark. If there's any cattle missing or found with that mark, they're mine.
Okay.
So if we can keep this gentle and friendly, because I don't want to start some kind of war.
Yeah.
It's like, because that's the other thing. I knows he's out here in not no man's land. He's in the Indian Territory.
This is land.
Right. But there's also the fort over there. And if the fort starts thinking that they need to get involved, that's going to be bad for Native Americans. But Ike's more concerned about his almost total control. Yeah.
Yeah. Tentative claim. Yeah.
Yep. For Purgatory
Which
Bluff.
has already slipped a lot.
Yes. So yeah, this is a lot of drowned man will grab at any stick, fingernails.
The whole context of this conversation is also that, like, he knows 5 years ago I wouldn't have talked to him like this.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
5 years ago you were still wearing, well, actually 5 years ago you probably would have been in the trousers by then, but
sure.
Yeah. It's like, well, if you'll look into that,
right.
I would
do that for you.
I would greatly appreciate that, and thank you for looking into it.
Mm-hmm. Now, if I don't find anything, then
then I will be no worse off than I currently am.
Right.
And
but I'll want you going off and taking matters into your own hands.
He shakes his head. He's like, no, at this point, I'm at the worst it could be, and I will not make it any worse. And like,
unless more cattle went missing or something.
That's true.
Of course.
Yeah. And you can see behind him, Mr. Hogan is giving like encouraging nods to him. Like he was not necessarily coached, but advised privately. Like, listen, dude. It's like,
right.
Yeah. But in that case, I apologize for my previous behavior. Thank you for coming up and seeing me. And Miss Moody, it was lovely to see you as well. If you will excuse me, I have other business. And that sounds straight up scripted. Like, this is the thing you say when you're ready to leave. And so he kind of nods, gives this like half bow, and then heads back up to where, I can't remember, who all went actually sneaking into this house? Legba and
Theo.
Theo, yeah. Of course, you all have been in this house at one point, because he does throw out these big parties to remind everyone that he does have money and stuff like that. Mr. Hogan kind of returns and says, do either of you wish a little something for your journey home? And Catherine is like, oh no, I'm full.
All good.
And
Thank you, Hogan.
Escorts you back to the front door. And once outside, Catherine kind of looks over at you and goes, Do we care?
Care enough to make it look like I've done my job, and to keep him from acting out about it.
She nods her head and like, right, because you are Sheriff Isabel. And you have responsibilities and you have things that you have to do. Like, and the idea of like, oh yes, I have gnosis, I have mage sight, I can see the world in a whole new way and are aware of threats that are far beyond a few stolen cattle. And it's like, okay, I get it. And so the two of you make your way back down, because I don't think you're, well, actually, I guess you might actually take Catherine to go look.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because I realized the two of you got time.
We might as well take a look while we're here. Nothing that a few poking abouts could hurt, you know what I mean?
So she nods and then realizes it, like perks up, and she's like, right, 6 days ago.
Hmm?
Right. And like the excitement and then the quickly tempered down.
She says, Miss Moody, I think you're about to discover you've got a latent ability of talent of tracking
and deduction. This is what I think happened 6 days ago. And so she nods, and like, because for her, I'm going to double check here.
Her got two fate one time.
2 time and 1 fate.
2 time, 1 fate.
Right. And so for her, yeah, this is like, oh, hey, this is a thing I can do. This is something I'm skilled at. You both are knuckleheads together with fate.
Sure.
And so the two of
It'd
you
be like that.
Yeah. The two of you, walk out into, and again, it is, don't have to worry about mud on the boots. It is dry, and it has, well, probably hasn't been. It probably comes and goes for y'all. And make your way out to the pasture. And it's a large pasture. One might say that is in the, let's see here, scale. Where's my handout? Dig this thing up here. In the large, well, small factory sized pasture. And because you have time 3, I will go ahead and just tell you what post-cognition brings up. But I imagine that you actually sit and wait for Catherine to manage it. And fortunately, post-cognition, well within her reach, and literally she has the reach for it. So yeah, it takes a couple swings. She's not super prepared and doesn't have like a strong shadow name for this, but she eventually kind of slips into it, and then you, with much more casualness, actually, I guess
it's not even casualness, it's more just like brute force of gnosis and stuff, right?
Yeah, because I was going to say your shadow name doesn't really click on. Yeah, okay. No. So yeah, you have to probably mumble some high speech alongside her. Yeah. And yeah, you guys jump back 6 days ago and zoom through, cattle meandering, couple guys on horseback kind of, sitting, sunset, and then, kind of, the police procedural kind of thing of you're going super fast and then something happened. Oh, go back. What was that? And you watch as wolves leap over the fence and basically corner 6 large cattle. And just to clarify for those at home, wolves, not coyotes or dogs, big fucking wolves that don't belong in Colorado, or at least not this east in Colorado. Timber wolves, we'll say, and corner 6 of these cattle and herd them over the fence, like nipping at their heels, bodily shoving them until they get up and over the fence. Yeah, and this would be one of those, well, I'm a Theosis with some life magic. That's some bullshit.
I've seen a couple living creatures in my time and understood them, and that
ain't normal.
That ain't right.
Yeah. And like, to the degree that some of these wolves are in fact making sure that the fence doesn't fall. Actually, we will go so far as to say the fence does get knocked over and they nudge it back into place. Right.
Now, Miss Moody, I don't know if you particularly have too much experience with wolves and large canines, but I don't believe they sort of tends to understand construction.
Yeah, and wolves aren't really known for their herding. Like, they hunt things down. Yeah, and so Catherine is there. Like, her eyes had been glazed over and her back, and she was like, "What did we just see? You saw that too."
That's a good question.
And like, in my mind, you guys, because you're casting over this large area, you have the drone shot from up top.
I mean, yeah, I was going to go into it. Like, the way Isabel probably perceives things in the past is to have looked at them from the clouds.
Sure. Yep.
Right. So less drone and more just like, this is the land. What was happening on it?
Yep. As you stare down. Yeah, I like that. And unfortunately, that does mean you see that the wolves chased them off, herded them off towards the northwest, farther away from the Purgatorio, away from the fort, and out towards Native American territory.
All right. Interesting.
She's like, so they were stolen?
I mean, it seems like they were certainly rustled.
But, I mean, what do you tell him?
Don't tell him that wolves did it. I mean, what we tell him is that we walked around a pasture and a couple women folk like us probably don't know enough to track something after 6 days. But that we're going to look into talking to our native friends and see if they've got some new, pets.
Sure. So I imagine actually you might even relay that over to one of the cowboys who are out there in the pasture. And because of the situation where we're at, do you and Catherine want to pursue that today? Or is that something that y'all look for later?
I think Isabel gets curious. You know how it is.
Okay. With that, and especially since you say you're headed out that way, Catherine kind of looks at you and then looks back to town, and she goes, I think I will slow you down.
Okay.
So I will go report in and let your deputy know what you're up to.
Yeah.
And I'll hold down the fort.
Do me a favor and just untie Jose.
But he was saying all those very rude things. Oh, never mind, your horse.
Yeah.
Never mind. I was making some joke about somebody who was in the drunk tank. She goes, Oh yeah, okay, yeah, sure. She's like that's a weird request. Oh right, remember who I'm talking to. She's like, okay, I'll do that and send them out this way.
Yep.
So yeah, it's
best horse I ever had.
45 minutes later, Jose the horse. Excuse me.
Comes on up. Jose the horse A.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Comes rolling up. And it's like, yep. Sorry. And yeah, how do you track? Or do you just like, I'm gonna skip to the potential end point and work back?
I think she gets yeah, I think she in the meantime, while she's waiting for her horse, gets near up on the fence and is looking more closely to see if there's any like tuft of fur or anything like that. Because they were like messing with the fence posts and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I would probably say like they're you know what? Let's roll wits plus composure. It went from I don't know what would likely happen, and then I was like, well, let's just make
it's almost like we're playing a tabletop game where dice exist to solve these things.
Yep. And for me, it was like rolling to see if the wolves left fur behind. No, let's do this the other way. Do you find? Yeah.
2 successes.
Yeah, it's not like any big tufts or anything like that. Sure. But you don't care about a big tuft. You are just I need a single thread, right? Yeah. And so there's a couple of these dark dark gray fibers, hairs stuck in there, where they've been shouldering up against it and stuff like that. And yeah.
Cool. And then she will cast a life weaving spell upon herself to give herself like tracking senses of a like a bloodhound or something like that.
Right. A wolf.
Or a wolf, yeah. And be able to follow that.
I like that. Yeah.
Pretty well.
Scent is gone for a while, but especially out here where there's not a lot, even just an old scent, because bloodhounds can track for days past.
They're crazy, yeah.
Watch that Mythbusters episode.
Yeah, and it's like the spell can even be like perfecting on top of that.
Right. Yep. To make it better.
If I really wanted to push it, like if I like it, and like that would be her sort of avenue of spellcasting for this. Is like I'm gonna see if I can do it easily, and then if not, I'll push it.
Right. I think the 30-45 minutes where you're waiting for Jose. Yeah, it's like okay, now I've got that send. Now it's working, and Jose the horse kind of trotting up. And then like pauses and just looks at you.
There's a vibe.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, hey buddy. Yep. And yes, you mount your trusty steed, who actually at this point is getting up there in years. Now that I think about it.
But
you would think, but yeah,
he's in the prime of his life, you might say.
Yeah. It's like, man, like we remember when you came into town and you were riding Jose around and winning races, and man, he just doesn't look like he's aged today.
Hasn't lost a step.
That's real funny. Eventually it's like at some point I gotta figure something out, but we'll see how long I can drag this out.
Yep. She's gonna legitimately send him to a farm upstate.
Stud him out.
Okay,
this is Jose the Horse 2.
Yeah, exactly. Hear me out. Mages turning themselves into immortals, quite left-handed. Horses,
household pets.
That's just advancing. Our understanding of the world, and easing human suffering.
Yeah. Oh Lord. So yes, mounted atop your trusty seat. One of the nice things about Scent is you can actually haul ass.
Yeah.
Falling in like, whoop, hang on, this is bad, and you do a little U-turn, and
Yep.
the path is meandering a little bit. You can clearly tell, yeah, there's both
There was
wolf
some herding happening.
and cow, and trying to work it together, and then the wolf smell just disappears utterly. Just out of nowhere, the wolves have disappeared. There is, however, a new human scent. Yeah. And everyone goes, gasp! We had no... Yeah. Very, very human scent. And for
Isabel's just standing there. She goes, where? Wolf.
Ah! So you continue to follow the cattle at this point, because I mean, technically these could be humans who came from somewhere else. Who knows? Maybe these humans chased off the wolves and
collected off the wolves and took the cow.
Yep. You continue, and fortunately, Jose has some serious stamina and some staying power because
I fed him apple ahead of time.
Yep. Because Isabel trains really, really well with Jose. Yep.
Guess the best feed in town.
Yep. Indefinite duration spells, kids. Yep. And you keep probably not a full gallop, right? But a steady, solid pace that, would have a lot of other riders be switching horses in a train or something like that. But Isabel just does it with just Jose. And you can see the encampment, the tribe set up a ways away. It's a little bit... Well, actually, y'all were out to visit a Comey recently-ish, actually. So yeah, it's still there. They haven't moved yet. And they're settled in, and you're following. It's like, please don't lead the cattle's right there. Yep. So yeah, you pull up, and you're a little ways off, and can tell that the cattle have definitely gone straight into town or the camp.
She just kind of gives a big, loud whistle.
Yep.
To sort of announce herself.
Sure. And yeah, immediately there are
waves her hat and everything, and just some real
I am here.
I'm here. Hey, how's it going?
Yep. There is friendly greeting. You've been out here. Comey likes you, so they at least put up with you to like you. I imagine there's probably...
I don't know that I cure their plague, but
right. And you've got some of these the younger generation, the kids, right, who probably vibe with Isabel because Isabel's got kids, and I was trying to think if it would be a Comey, but yeah, of course, there's the word gets passed around, and a Comey comes out and sees it and waves to you, and then also kind of recognizes that this is Sheriff Isabel and not Petrichor. They ride the same horse. Weird.
Never seen Petrichor and Sheriff Isabel in the same place together.
Yeah. And she comes out, and come on in, let's get into some shade, and we'll have somebody take care of Jose. How are you? And that's the text. The subtext is, the fuck? You could have called. There's numerous ways to let me know you're headed this way. And
how's it going?
It's well.
Great.
Yeah.
Y'all had any problems with predators out this way?
No.
No wolves or anything you've seen?
No.
All right. You want to get in some shade and talk?
It sounds like we should. And head takes you back to her tent, and find some place to sit and settle, and offers you a shot of whiskey. And I think you both take one back together and kind of relax. And she's like, "Wolves
Yeah.
in Purgatory Bluff?
Seemingly. And by seemingly, I mean I saw it.
Did they hurt? What? What happened?"
About 6 days ago, some cattle went missing from Enright's herd out of the pasture. They were herded over the fence. The fence was partially knocked down because of this, and then the fence was reconstructed by a group of wolves. And then about halfway out here on the trail I was following, the wolves disappeared.
How many wolves? 4 or 5. Yeah.
Yeah, 4 or 5. And then there was some fresh human tracks at the same time, at the same place.
Okay, so what I'm going to go ahead and say, and she says it in high speech, that weren't me. And so the cattle came here.
It's what it looks like, what it smells like. And she taps her nose.
Right. And so she's like, okay, well, I haven't seen any new cattle. That would probably stand out.
That was my thought. You had any feasts?
I mean, we're eating okay, but not 6 cattle worth, or no, 5 cattle worth. Yeah. Okay. Because there's nobody in the camp who could do that. Like it's me.
You have an understanding of, yeah.
And there's some sleepwalkers. But none of them are turning into wolves. Not that I know of. That would be a new trick.
I'm trying to think if Isabel would have any concept of shapeshifter lore.
Oh, I mean, because that's going to be that's a lore,
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, let's do. Hey, we got dice.
Yeah. Or yeah. Like an into cult maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Another couple successes.
And because you've seen, those half wolf shapes back down in Mexico, the half man, half wolf things you weren't quite sure on. Yeah. And of course, Comey, between her actual occult knowledge and then, Native American myth and stuff like that. Yeah. There's absolutely people who change shape. And so she's like, well, what the hell?
Y'all have any new folks visiting, staying here?
I mean, there's always folks coming in and out. Well, I will start asking some questions. And can you do a favor and do a little ring around the camp to see if the cattle have moved on?
Mm-hmm.
Because 6 days ago, if somebody came by and sat some cattle outside and we didn't notice and just grabbed stuff, or we literally didn't see the cattle.
Right.
I don't like this.
It and like Enright had the like at the time I felt unwarranted instinct that like y'all could be the only culprit, so to speak.
We get blamed for
I feel
everything.
like that would be true. Yeah, I mean, sure. But the cattle weren't in town, and sort of the only other direction is
the fort.
y'all.
Yeah.
The fort, but
and
I don't know. It didn't make any sense.
We haven't seen any outlaws or anybody else running cattle around here, and Wright's kind of got a solid claim on the space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I found myself very curious, and you know how that goes.
Yes. Okay. I'll ask some questions round. You take a look round, and because 5 people who can turn into wolves, I mean, it's not a simple thing.
No. I mean, even if they were like us, I'm trying to figure out the arcana to do that safely.
Life and forces?
Yeah. Spirit?
Yeah.
Could be any sort of, I don't know. There's several ways to get there, but
okay. Well, yeah, because we don't need Enright pointing fingers at this way. And right now, and she pauses and she holds up.
Great.
Yeah, well, and she makes placating hands. Right now, she has, or rather, you would have to point in this direction.
Right.
And then she kind of pauses and she goes, no, I know you wouldn't without further investigation, but I mean, she kind of makes a face and she's like, this could be, that could be literally the point of this.
I had the thought too on the way out here when I realized that we were quite steadily headed your way.
Okay. Yeah, you take a look around real quick. I'll let everybody know that you're just coming by to say hi and exercising Jose. I mean, they're still offering big money to buy Jose from you. I'm just saying.
I know.
She, and like there's a face because she can look at the horse and she's like, she knows. She's like, I mean, I wouldn't feel bad.
It wouldn't feel right.
Okay. Thank you. And like she stands up and then like helps you up, pulls you into an embrace, and then thank you for coming and talking to us. As always, it means a lot to know that we have friends in purgatory.
Absolutely.
Then she kind of,
friends. Isabel gets this dramatic, like friends in purgatory and allies in hell.
She's like, whoa.
I don't know. It sounded cool.
Yeah, it sounds better in Spanish.
Yeah, for sure.
And so she escorts you back out. There's the swarm of kids and onlookers, and there's some glad handing and some waves.
Yeah.
And
she passes out like a couple like candies out to the kids and stuff that someone in town had made. And...
Oh yeah, dude, that's true. We have German candy makers. Is it just Swiss chocolatiers? There we go. It's like purgatory,
but like if you just got some sugar, you can make all kinds of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, you all the two you spread out, and you can already hear Comey just talking about like, have I missed anything? Did we have visitors? Jose is brought back out to you, and there is like 3 or 4 of these guys who every time you roll up are like, so the horse, like, we can We'll take good care of them.
Well, then how am I gonna get back to town?
We'll ride out with and you have that conversation like on the way to the parking lot, right?
Exactly.
And get out, and then you do your lap,
Right.
and the cattle, you follow the trail. The trail comes right up to and through town. Yeah, so somebody walked these cattle through town and out the other side. So once you do that loop, come back around and find, oh yeah, here it is, and it heads out even farther north.
Right.
Yep.
Time to something true meaning of speed.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because we're now, it's getting kind of late. And yeah, so you give Jose the old shadow facts.
Yeah, I have so far not made Jose learn how to fly.
I mean, on the plus side, the spell says they innately know how to use their new words.
We just haven't had to get there just yet.
And especially good.
Cowboy Witch on a fucking Pegasus is a vibe.
Yep. Quick, call it Bryn. And yeah, so you continue heading north following the trail.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's definitely, at this point you've been riding and we're heading towards sunset. And it goes and goes and goes, and at this point the human scent is definitely getting sweaty. There's sense of like they've been going, and there's not any real spots that seem like a heavy concentration of smell. If any of you are out there and are very aware of the physics of how smell works, buzz off.
It's fine.
It's not like there's no place where like there was resting or where the cattle kind of meandered away and then were brought back.
Do I get any sense of them like catching up or not? Or is all just like one sort of?
This would have it's all the same scent level. Like this all happened like in a day or that night into the morning kind of thing. Like they were running. And but of note, there's like this human scent of like sweat, but the cattle don't seem like I don't know,
stressed or tired.
It's just
driven too hard or anything.
Yeah, they're just trucking along, no problem, kind of the way Jose does.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And it goes for hang on, I gotta pull up my map now. Because I think eventually we come to a river.
When she's like starting to get out there in the sun setting, she will give trying to think of how you could do this. Yeah, I think like a life spell would be able to just like send Jose home.
Yeah. And just like compel.
Yeah.
Yep.
Compel,
hey, Beckham.
Compel home. Yeah.
And just like, and the mournful, like looking at you walking away, but I don't want to. Mom, don't send me away.
It's fine. It's fine. I don't want you out here all night.
Yeah. And so he trots off. And he's going to meander, but he'll get home. Yep. And
eat something, take a drink at the river. Like it's all good.
Because north of the Purgatory and out where you are, it's chaparral, it's dry. There's not a lot there, but there are lots of places that when it does rain turns into some good pathways, and you see it up ahead. You've sent Jose off, and take to the air, I imagine.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And I imagine it's this kind of low swoop or dive down.
Just
big,
keeping. Yep. Yeah. Big sniff.
And yeah, you can see up ahead there is this ridge line and a cliff. And as you soar over and look down, you can see the well picked over at this point bodies of 5 heads of cattle.
Okay. I will do another
Post
sorry,
cognition.
my brain
Yep.
just completely shut down. Look back in time.
Yep.
And as I'm soaring amongst the clouds, like it's pretty easy to just be like, what were we like a few days ago?
Yep.
And just scan back
and you see several men in what look like, from your height, Native American garb. Their skin tone is off. Chase these cattle and nudge them and force them over the edge. And they just fall. It's very unpleasant. And like once they're over, the 5 of them are at the edge. You got the one buddy like who does the little playful shove, haha, you're gonna fall over, and then they kind of step back and wink out of existence.
Okay. In person, is there any residue of their magic around?
Not on the space that they would have left, but how long does a spell last on a cow? Let's see here. Where is my... No, I want Nimbus. Signature Nimbus. For every dot above 1. By default, this lasts for a week.
Right. Perfect.
6 days. Man.
6 days, Drew said.
It's fine. The intent of this is to be solved. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So offers bonus revelation for every dot of gnosis above 1. Add this. By default, this lasts for a week. However, the dice after last dawn it's gone. It fades 1 week later. Yeah. So you have, if it's a normal mage, a week. If they're stronger than 6+, additional weeks for each dot. Right. Again, back to Catherine. This is why we don't throw spells around randomly, because it's gonna linger. So yeah, you can swoop down and mage side it up. Especially life is kind of your thing. And let's see here. You pick up a signature Nimbus. Broken materials, rotten wood, shriveled leaves, and animal spore.
Cool.
One might say
familiar.
Yep. Yeah. And the one that you have connected to Trigander. Yep. And it's like, oh, that's cool. They were in Purgatory Bluff. And because I know Ralph isn't here, I will remind everybody, no threat was intended, or violence was intended, or harm was intended on the citizens of Purgatory Bluff when they entered the area. And I think that might be a good place to put a pin in it.
Yeah.
Because we're going to have a wonderful little reunion here. It's like, guys, I have news. And Isabel's like, fun fact, I have news too.
Yeah.
So
just the loudest psychic son of a bitch.
That's true. Yes, thank you for. I appreciate you and the other players not using telepathy during these sessions, because that would really ruin everything. I guess does telepathy work while you're in the astral? Maybe that's our gimme. I don't know.
Didn't we make it like we made it like an answering machine before?
Yes, that's true.
When they were in there,
the astral is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's also the disconnect of time when you're in the astral.
Spent, yeah.
Yep. So, all right. Well, that was fun. Thanks for joining me, Chris.
Yeah, me too. I love being not threatened.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this was a fun little setup, I think.
This episode was like, what the fuck is in right hat 1 and 2? And I was like, I see.
Yep. Yeah.
Goddamn wizard shit's about to happen.
Yeah. It's like way back when we started this, we talked about it. It's like, oh yeah, no, the Purgatory Bluff is a safe place. Bad things won't happen to the characters too often in Purgatory Bluff, because then you just get this paranoid feel and you just want to do tons of defenses. We got this nice little bubble. We're set. Yep. So yeah, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you spending time with us and hanging out and watching our silly shenanigans as Sheriff Isabel is a sheriff and an investigator. And Catherine Moody is like, oh, hey, we shouldn't use spells willy-nilly, but it does mean we can be good at our job sometimes. So thank you all so much for joining us. If you want to chat about this episode or other episodes or your own latest session of any TTRPG, come by Discord. That's www.yeetinto.space. And if you want to support us monetarily, that's www.staylucky.club. Thanks, and we'll see y'all next week.